Is your phone stealing your marriage? Today we're talking about the number one connection killer in homes today, and it's probably in your right hand right now. We're sharing practical boundaries that can help you reclaim your time, rebuild intimacy, and bring real presence back to your family. Let's dive in. Welcome to Bringing Hope Home. We're Bryce and Colette Schaffer, and we're on a mission to bring God's hope, healing, and practical strategies right into your living room. Welcome back. We're so glad that you're joining us today. And we're talking about kind of continuing the intimacy a little bit, but talking about one of the intimacy stealers in marriage and in families, and that's the problem with technology.
Right. Yeah, it's connection. Mm-hmm. And that's what we really want in a family is connection. However, technology in particular is driving a wedge in our connections to each other. There's certainly a tool to be used to stay connected, mm-hmm. and that's kind of the trick, or the trigger to all this. Because I remember our son Ethan, he wanted a phone so bad when he was in 4th grade. So, you start young and you rationalize, oh yeah, we can get it so they can stay connected with you, but it doesn't take long and the slippery slope of disconnect happens.
Right. I mean, just take your own home. How many times are you sitting next to your spouse or sitting in your house and TV is on and Yep. Each of you have your phone and you're sitting there scrolling and you don't even know how much time goes by. Right? Yeah. I mean, it's crazy how much time can go by when you're just sitting there scrolling. And we've all been there, right? That's the way it's made. The social media has made and designed for us to stay on there as long as possible. But it's taking away really our lives.
Right. It's sucking time.
So much time and intentional time that we could be putting into our marriages. So we want to, fight for our marriages, fight for our time Amen. And quality time together. And so that's why we're addressing this one again. So,
well, I think, the idea of social media is you get those endorphins. You get that shock. Every 10, 15 seconds or whatever it is, you're getting a new information, new input. And sometimes when you're just with your family, it seems because we're so desensitized or sensitized to all the fast-pacedness of social media that our family, we're just not doing enough to stimulate our brains. However, you're putting your brain on overload and you're not able then to connect with your family the way that you should.
I think the lie is, I just need to relax. It's been a long day. I just need to relax. I need to zone out. So we scroll. Mm-hmm. But in reality, what that's doing is actually causing anxiety. And they've done tests that it actually increases your exhaustion. It makes you even more tired. So, the lie that we've all kind of bought into, I'm just relaxing, scrolling, mm-hmm. is really doing the opposite.
Or the game on your phone.
Yeah.
You might not be social media. Well, that's not me, Pastor. Could be a game. Or I don't know, but just anything with technology is not good. And I would really suggest too, if you have kids, we're talking about husband, wife, but if you have kids, don't allow them to have TVs in their technology in their rooms. So they isolate themselves in the room, whether it's right after school to play the game or whatever. And then through the night, they're playing the game or social media or watching TV. When we were kids, teachers, it was TV. Yeah.
Teachers, you see the effect.
Very much so.
As teachers, and I was with middle school and high school, the kids are zombies throughout the day. And of course, they're supposed to be learning, but can't quite do that.
So, have them check those things in with you. Don't allow a TV in their room. Those kind of things. You limit it somehow, for sure. We're not saying take it all away. That's not what we're saying. But yeah, because I think there's a missing component to a lot of our lives, and that's connection to those that we love. And again, it's a great tool to connect with those that you love, but those in your immediate family especially, just being there with each other, connecting with one another at the dinner table, have a meal every day together. Try to fight for that to happen.
And the other problem too, not just that it's sucking your time, but that you compare yourself to others. And so that also is a detriment, to all of our lives. I think life was so much easier back in the day when we didn't have these things. Yes, technology has made our lives, good and easier and all these things, but, when you didn't know what was going on in the world necessarily unless the news came on.
Right.
You didn't know what your friends were doing at every second, and
so you were just doing you.
You just did you. And so we've kind of gotten away from, us doing us.
Right. And in a family, I think that's the devil is using that as a tool to devalue the family and the nuclear family apart, for sure. In the Bible, it talks about just connecting with one another, and we like Philippians, and Philippians 2, 3, and 4 says, "Let nothing be done through selfish ambition or conceit, but in lowliness of mind, let each esteem others better than themselves. Let each of you work not out of his own interests, but for the interests of others." And that should really hold true with your family. I think that's key, the interests of others. And again, social media and those hits or games, it's all about me and what I'm doing and what I like. And it's okay if you play games together or whatever, but again, let's learn to limit it. And you think, well, Pastor, I already know these things. Well, I'll tell you what, if you sit down with your whole family and say, we're going to detox from our phones and social media and all these different technologies, you might have a little rebellion on your hands, and you would get your family talking pretty quick. And that tells you where their mindsets are. And so, yeah, you know this, but can you do this? Don't just talk the talk, walk the walk in this area. And again, it's always good to put little parameters on it. Last week we said, with your intimacy with each other, have little 10-minute check-ins and then 2-week deeper check-in. I really suggest too, for our social media and all these outlets that we're using with technology, every 2 weeks, reevaluate. Reevaluate. Where were you on it? How much did that distract and take away from you and your family time? Those kind of things. Yeah. And try to say, well, did I reach my, 2-hour limit on social media / news podcasts, those kind of things.
2 hours get sucked up really fast.
2 hours is pretty much nothing. I mean, I know I look at my phone, they give you that summary and it's 4 hours a day. It's like, how did I get to 4 hours a day so quickly? But again, if you can take those check-ins every 2 weeks and say, what about me? Where have I let it creep back in? Those little moments escape me.
And I think the first place to start really is creating technology-free zones or technology-free times. A really easy one is at the dinner table. We've talked about this before, and this is kind of our soapbox.
Yes, we beat this drum.
Yeah, but technology really does not belong at the table. Whether you're eating out or you're just together or at home,
Well, and I'll tell you this, a lot of parents are using that at the dinner table. And that's one of the only places, as a teacher, that you can teach your kid to sit still without a screen before they get into kindergarten. We're seeing a lot in schools that they can't even sit still. And it's because parents are using the screen time to babysit them and keep them occupied while you eat your meal or you talk to your friends, you, rather than focusing on your child and training up a child in the way they should go. So we are really seeing this as a detriment in our school systems at that early ages. And then this habit, carries on in some of those kids' cases a long time to learn to sit. So I really want to implore you parents at the dinner table, you're not just teaching them good manners for eating, you're teaching them the next steps that they need for life and schooling.
Yeah, there's so many things around the dinner table that really use it as a teaching time and training time. And we've talked about that. And if you followed us in all of our podcasts, we do talk about dinner time.
Yes, and
maybe we need to write a book about
the table talk. And isn't this our 150th episode? Did you say?
I believe so.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
A little segue. Yeah, but again, that's a good place. Another place is the bedroom. Again, like I said earlier, take the kids' TVs away, phones away, yourself, phones away. And here's the excuse that I hear with parents of teenagers and yourself. I use that as my alarm clock. And I get it. You do. I do. But you can still go down to Walmart and spend less than $10 and get a regular clock with a battery so it doesn't, if the power goes out, all those different things. If you're really concerned about these things.
Or I guess they do have those apps that you can turn off your kid's phone at a certain time. So I guess you could do that.
Right, there's all those, but bedroom is definitely one.
But it's all about being intentional with your time. Finding those zones where, like if it's a date night, leave your phones. Unless you have a kid that you need to check in. But that you're not talking, you're not sitting there on your phones at the going out,
leave it in your purse, leave it in your pocket.
Just recently, our oldest, Ethan, and his wife came to visit us, and they were doing a social media free time.
They were. And
didn't even have it on their phones. So, they logged off for the time that they were there. And I tell you what, that meant a lot actually, because they were intentional with conversations. They were intentional with their time. And it just means a lot. If you're visiting somebody or going out to dinner with somebody and you have your phone right there and you're constantly looking at your phone, it's saying, well, whatever is on there is more important than you.
Right.
It's really the message. I can't put this down because maybe if somebody, so just make sure that whoever you're with, we want to be present. Mm-hmm. I think that's the whole thing. We want to bring back presence and really connecting. I think we have forgotten how to connect. And like you said, this technology is supposed to help us connect, but in reality, it has, made us drift apart. So, another boundary, no phones during conversations. If you're having a conversation, you don't need your phone there. Put time limits on your social media. Right.
I was going to say, I'm one that likes to be a prompt to do person. So when I hear that ding on a text, I don't have 400 unread text messages. I get to mine right away. So you've caught me a few times like, why do you need to look at it now? And she's right. Mm-hmm. So we're telling you the same thing. You don't need to answer things right away. Very rarely are they that important.
Yeah, where we think we need to answer right away, or, well, if someone can't get a hold of you right away, or,
you want to see how many or likes you got on your post. That you don't need those.
Yeah, turn off your notifications. That'll really
that'll
help. And then you can set up a time. Okay, this is when I'm going to get back to my text. Or, it's different if you're expecting a text from somebody. Yeah. But if you're not, you can set those limits and set your phone to busy. That always works. Or the do not disturb mode.
Right. And I think, like you were talking about the zones, I think if you just figure out times in your day that this is going to be about the other person and my connections, is key. And again, that's going to get you into communication mode, which is going to save you on the other end of lots of other issues of, I didn't know this was happening, or when were you going to tell me these things? Because your mind was preoccupied with those technologies, and you're losing out on those good things that communicate within a family. So remember to bring those back together, and like you said, bookend your day at times if you can without technologies, especially before bed. I think that's key.
Yeah, I talked about this at 3-2-1.
3-2-1s.
3 hours before bed, no food. 2 hours before bed, no work. 1 hour, no screens. And so if you want to set yourself up for good sleep time, there's a good one to follow, 3-2-1.
Right.
Which is hard. An hour before,
It is
we're
very
bad
hard.
at that.
We can get bad at that. And I'll just give a real easy or a hard example, hard, easy, whatever you want to look at it. I know as a coach, we were talking about that last week with being a coach. Well, I get home from a game at 11 o'clock at night and I can't turn my mind off. So what do I typically go to? I will sit there and scroll, but I try, it really is not good. It's actually training your brain to stay connected and to stay up. And so, I'll sit there for maybe 5-10 minutes, and then I forcefully put the phone down and just take a couple deep breaths, close the eyes, write some things down if it's in your mind. So it's on paper, so your mind wants to repeat it so you don't forget it. You put it on paper, it's now out and you won't forget it. Those kind of things. So, I get where you say, well, I got to slow myself down. Well, again, it's not slowing yourself down the way you think you are.
And the bookends, the same thing for the morning. A lot of times people go to their phones first thing in the morning to wake up. And so, we're waking up and going to bed with these things, and it's just causing health problems. It's causing, problems in our families and just all kinds of things. So, we want to be intentional. We want to be intentional about setting boundaries. And if this is a problem in your home, sit down together and talk about it. How can we make little improvements? What's maybe a little something that we can do this week? Challenge yourselves. So maybe it is, okay, we're not going to look at our phones, before bed, or at the table, no phones are allowed, or whatever it is that is going to challenge you. Pick one thing.
Yeah, and win at that one thing. Because if you're going to try to implement everything and you've been addicted to your device, that's not going to work too well. So pick one thing, or maybe you do want to go cold turkey. Maybe you do want to delete social media from your phones for a while and take a I think your heart and mind would feel a lot more healthier.
Yeah.
Sure.
Anxiety, that's a huge part
of it. And then reclaim it a little bit. What are you going to put in its place? The one thing that we always say, spiritually speaking, there's preface for this, and naturally speaking, if you're going to take something away, what are you replacing it with? And so choose something, because if you're just going to sit there and twiddle your thumbs, as they say, you're going to really hunger and crave for that that social media or your technologies. But what are you going to replace it with? Okay, for the next hour, none of us are going to be on our phones, and we're going to choose whatever that fill in the
Going back to our son and daughter-in-law, she wanted to be intentional of not being on her phone, and they have a little one too. They don't want to be on it in front of him. And so she started baking.
Oh, yeah.
And then she picked up cross-stitching and now knitting. And she's doing all these crafts and putting her hand to things and finding things that she loves.
Yeah.
And forgot that she loved, And so what could you create? What could
you
do?
Put
in that place.
Yeah. That's key. So then you don't itch to go back to the old because you're still wanting to fill the void.
And again, if you're together as a couple, having conversation, knowing how to start actually having a conversation, and if you need help with that, we actually have conversation starters. I'll put a link down below, and you can
just start talking about the week, and then talk about the next week, talk about the rest of the year, those kind of what you're dreaming for. Get connected that way. It's a good place to start, and find out what your kids are thinking, especially teenagers or even young ones. They'll really tell you what they're thinking if you ask. So it'll be fun. You'll really, really enjoy it. Yeah. I'm sure of it.
So that's the challenge. And maybe, down below in the comments, right? What's your challenge going to be for this week? And we can hold each other accountable.
That's a great idea.
So, all right, we got to pick our challenge.
Ooh, on the spot. We'll wait till after. All right. Well, anyway, hopefully you got something out of this, and we're so glad you stayed tuned with us here on our podcast. And remember to like, subscribe, share all of this content. This is, again, one of these big hot topic situations that we're trying to help you just bring life to your home in a greater way with God in the center. And as we always like to say, bring hope home to your life today.
If you're listening on the Apple Podcast app, give us a 5-star rating and drop a review. If you're listening on Spotify, give us a follow. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. See you next week.